Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Those Two Geeks. He's Alex. I'm Joe. We got a third today, so that means get your peanut butter because it is time to jam. And we are doing the final jam of the year of 2024, going on to 2025. And I couldn't be more excited. Back-to-back jams, guys.
Hi, so happy to be back, gentlemen. Yeah, 2 weeks in a row. I feel loved. I feel supported. I feel like this is a
Yeah.
very safe space, and I appreciate you both.
Oh, you're very
Yes.
welcome.
It's great to have you back. It's been so long.
Forever, well, so much has happened since we last saw each other.
Yes.
so-
The world has changed. But yeah, so much. Speaking of, so preface this, you had amazing seats at the MSG WWE Holiday Show, and
Yeah,
I
so-
joked with you. I'm like,
Mhm.
did you tag along with a Make-A-Wish kid?
You did, which was very funny. It was very
Okay.
funny, Joe.
Yeah.
So it is the most boring explanation ever, which is I bought a ticket. So
Bought a ticket to get the meet and greets and everything?
Yeah, so this year I told everybody, don't get me anything, just get me cash. And enough family members and my partner and everybody kicked in that I basically ended up paying for this second row seat ticket. But it's part of
I can't
a
even imagine
superstar.
how much those were.
I'm not going to say it on air.
No, I'm not going to. Is it an embarrassment of how much they were?
I don't think it's an embarrassment.
I think whenever you have that kind of thing, it's like someone who's not into wrestling would say, why would you pay that much? But then someone who is, or for example, maybe they're like going to Comic-Con, like, why would you spend that much to go to Comic-Con? Because I really want to go and it means a lot to me. So
No,
is it an embarrassment? Absolutely not. Is it more than some people would spend?
I'm just saying.
Probably.
Like,
for sure. So dear listeners, for those of you uninitiated on this, every December 26th, the WWE runs an annual non-televised show at Madison Square Garden. They've done it for, it feels like decades now, if not longer. So I generally like to go to that show. It's sort of my post-Christmas tradition.
So you've gone more than once to this.
Oh, I go nearly every year to the
awesome.
December 26th show. But this year I did a sort of like carpe diem, and instead of getting an iPad, I was like, let's spend some money on this ticket and do something I've never done before, which is they offer a VIP meet and greet experience and exclusive swag and exclusive concierge services and that sort of a thing. So I ended up, you go there at like 5 p.m. By 5:30, they bring you into the Delta Lounge at MSG. They do 2 rounds of autograph signings. So I got Damian Priest, who I learned his favorite Batman story is Killing Joke.
I thought that was really cool.
Good.
And then they brought in Liv Morgan, the current WWE Women's Champion, and her heavy Raquel Rodriguez. But in the middle of the two of them being there, Dominic Mysterio also came in.
That is so cool.
I have a hat. I'll send you both a photo, but I got an exclusive WWE VIP hat, and I got all 4 of them to sign it, which would be very cool to display.
Yeah,
and then
very cool.
And then you're done by like 7 p.m. The show starts at 7:30, so I got down to my seat, and I was basically sitting where the commentary desk would be on a televised show. I was second row from the ring. Unbelievable. Coolest seats I've ever had. The problem with doing this, and you both know this, is when you do this sort of thing, it's a real rough mental thing when you have to go back to section 204 for the next show.
Yeah, it's funny. So there's been a couple of times where my wife and I have been flying somewhere, and for whatever reason, business class or like the premium economy has been really affordable. I was like, oh, we should do it. No, we shouldn't, because then when we can't do it, we're going to be really upset.
Yeah, because it spoils you with riches. Yeah,
and it's almost like not. If you can do it all the time, it's great. But if you can, and not many people can, I would rather spend the money on something entirely different instead.
Yeah, I
That's
hear
that's
you.
the old saying. The old saying is don't ever fly first class because
Yeah,
you'll never go
wanna
back
go
to
again.
coach.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because so I can vouch for this too. No, I've had the first class thing before, and that doesn't bother me. Plane's a plane. I'm fine with it. But as far as the tickets go, that's the reason I didn't just grab a last minute ticket to Raw in Boston this past
sure.
because I had just come from AEW and I got to do what you did. That's exactly how it
You,
works. You go in
you
and
did. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm like, I can't just go back with the norms. I'm like, I'm not doing this.
I will
And
say that the coolest thing too is like you can yell at the wrestlers and they hear you, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, your cousin got into a full-on fight with Jack Perry, or your buddy Stevie. I never remember. Is he your cousin?
Steve, he's my cousin.
Steve is your cousin.
But
So like,
yeah,
it's so much fun. You are part of the show when you are
you are
first,
definitely part
second
of the show.
row like that.
So like, yeah,
Yeah,
we had great seats for both Collision, and then we had even better for. Well, I thought they were better for Full Gear. We were behind the commentary table for Collision. That was incredible, but I
sure.
loved our Full Gear seats, and the Full Gear experience was exactly what you had. They walk you in. You don't get to pick in advance who you're going to meet. I think it's just
Right.
like who's available, who
Yeah,
you
that's what I
know.
figure. It's like who's available backstage they can grab and be like,
Yeah, it's
"Hey,
not like
anybody want to do this meet and greet?" Yeah.
yeah. It's not like a la carte where you're like, oh, I'll take CM Punk. I'll take you can't do that because everyone would pick CM Punk. You know what I mean? And Seth Rollins. So that's awesome. I thought there was going to be a little more of a like a publishing story or whatever
Nope.
that you
Nope,
got the
not at
beard
all.
in and
I
it was a
just
Christmas
I didn't have an
miracle.
interesting story like you and your tickets, Joe,
Yeah,
and getting comped to be first
that's
front
right.
row.
That's
So,
right. It's even tougher to go back and be a norm now because it's like I was
absolutely.
chosen.
Now you've got to pay to go
Yeah,
and
yeah,
be
yeah.
a norm.
Oh,
But
I would get for years I had a hookup on the writing team at WWE and NXT, and
mhm.
I got free tickets to the takeovers at Brooklyn and
Yeah, because you said you went to a lot of
pay-per-views.
those.
And like they weren't front row seats, they were in like the 100s, but still
Still,
they
that's
were
amazing.
it was fantastic and you didn't have to pay for it. So it was just
Right.
really 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 cool and I always super appreciated I was very grateful that he was willing to do it.
That's
So,
awesome. Yeah,
and
now
he got
WWE.
fired, but it
Oh, now
all the
WWE
writers
has
eventually do.
yeah,
So,
WWE has a thing. It's like an edict actually. It happened like the day after Steve and I got back from Full Gear. And then we'll go into our, what the show is about today. But
it's all about you, Joe.
WWE it is. But WWE, as it should be. WWE thought about because ticket sales are so freaking good. They're the best they've been since the Attitude Era. Everything sells out. That they no longer comp tickets. Not
Yeah.
even for the wrestlers.
No, they don't have to.
You've
So,
heard that, right? They will
oh
not
yeah,
comp
yeah, they
tickets
they
for the
chopped it
wrestlers now.
down big time. Yeah.
Yeah. So like one of the wrestlers, I don't know if their name was released, but they got like 10 tickets for their family. And when they showed up to the arena, they were like, okay, are you paying cash or card? And the
Right.
wrestler,
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that horror story.
to me, I think that's horrible. I do. I'll give AEW the nod on that one. But,
Oh, well, that's probably just a miss. That's an organizational issue. I don't think that was like they purposely cheated the wrestler. I think that's
oh,
more an
okay.
incompetence thing where the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing in terms
Oh,
of
I thought it
changing
was
the
just like,
policy.
like you're in
Like that's
town,
just
like,
that's just office incompetence. That's administrative
oh,
problem.
I didn't know. I thought it was
Yeah.
more like, like Kofi Kingston's mom's come. Okay, how are you going to pay for her now?
I guarantee you she did not pay for her seat when she was
Yeah.
going to be on camera.
Yeah, probably not. But anywho, the show looked great.
Show is
So what was
fabulous.
your main event? It was the Judgment Day?
My main event was the world champ Gunther versus
Gunther.
hometown boy Damian Priest.
Nice.
Inside a 15-foot high steel cage,
Yep.
which was absolutely amazing.
And then
The
Shower Power
crowd
Punk.
shower power Punk after the match, which was
He,
hilarious.
he's
Priest
just
clearly
having
did not
fun.
know that was going to happen, that he would be in a shower cap and a towel.
Yeah.
Punk
I
gave
hope he
a
had
great
shorts
little
under that.
promo.
I
Punk
hope
gave
he
a
had.
great little promo putting Damian over, Gave the
Nice.
mic to Damien. Damien sent the crowd home basically on the mic. He
Nice.
had to be 20, 30 minutes with everybody in the front rows, just getting all the pictures, all the autographs, like
Oh,
a
that's
top
so
guy
cool.
does. He was
Yeah.
great. Match of the night, though, might have been Seth Rollins versus Dominic Mysterio.
Oh, I would imagine.
At one point, there was a girl directly behind me and directly to my left. She
Mhm.
threw a chicken finger to
Yeah,
Dominic
you told
in the
me.
ring.
Amazing.
It was amazing. He ate it. He threw some at Seth Rollins and then got on the mic and berated the quality of chicken tenders at Madison Square Garden
Uh,
to massive boos.
as he should if they're anything like the Jersey chicken tenders I
uh,
had.
Absolutely incredible moment. So much fun.
That's cool.
It was great. Seth Rollins versus Ludwig Kaiser was really, really good. And those two
I thought that was CM
matches.
Punk versus Ludwig Kaiser.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Yes, it was
Yeah, I knew
CM
that.
Punk versus Ludwig, and those two matches, Rollins and Punk's, were directly after each other, which I
Oh,
thought
that's
was really
cool.
interesting.
But I
Um,
also like the
yeah.
5 moves of doom from CM Punk.
Oh, Punk brought it out. The whole place went nuts.
But then
Just
he did
went
some weird
crazy.
ass butt wiggle. Like it was so strange from that video from I saw where before he dropped the 5 knuckle shuffle, he did this like ass
Yeah, he was
wiggle. And
trying. He did almost like some weird like Eddie Guerrero Latino Heat thing.
it was so
But he
strange.
has no rhythm.
No,
So,
zero.
but no, like Alex, I feel like a house show would actually be one of your ideal environments as a wrestling experience because there are no commercial breaks that you ever take into account.
Yep.
It's just wrestling, but they have no pressure to worry about the hard cam, so they play to every side of the ring.
Yeah.
They get to experiment and have fun and really focus on just interacting with the crowd. So it is a way more chill and interesting and fun environment. And
I'll tell
I
you what,
recommend
Matthew.
everybody
Let's
go to a house show if you
I
get a
want to go
chance.
to the 26th next year. I've
We'll
never
go.
been to Madison Square Garden. Let's go because I've
We can
never
do it.
been. How far in
Yeah.
advance did you have to get your tickets?
I got my ticket on Black Friday.
Okay. So you didn't get them in like January.
No.
All right, let's do it. Let's do
Yeah.
it. Just let me know when they go on sale and let's freaking do it.
It was like 13,000 people at Madison Square Garden,
Yeah.
it's great for a non-televised event. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
I
feel
went
like that's
to
not the kind of thing that sells out quickly at all.
generally no. Especially the holiday shows because they
I
tend to
figured they would
be
sell out quick. But
well, the holiday shows end up generally being like Christmas gifts, right? So a lot of people will buy on Christmas or Christmas Eve or Black
You're right.
Friday when there's a ticket deal. So it's very easy to get a decent seat right up until bell time, basically.
Yeah,
But
I'm
I mean,
gonna
look,
try to do experiences this year.
I went to a house show for Madison Square Garden that was non-televised that outsold every AEW show in the North America in
100%.
2024.
No, you're right.
So, you still get a really good crowd. It's pretty awesome. So
So
there you go. That was my
that is
WWE
awesome.
holiday experience.
I'm glad you had that experience along with your
Thank you.
giant Reese's cup.
Oh
And I
yes, the
think
giant Reese's cup is pretty great.
I was very jealous of that. It looked amazing.
Well, next year when you come to the show, Joe, we'll also go to the Hershey store and we'll get you
that
a
sounds
giant
great.
Reese's cup. There you go.
We just won't eat it at the show.
I mean, you could. There'd be no reason not to.
Well, I don't think they let you bring the food in to Madison Square Garden.
There is that.
They want you to buy their food there, but
you have to buy their chicken tenders.
You got to get their tendies. That's it.
Yep. But so everyone have a happy Christmas and a great Hanukkah, which you're still having.
Yes, my Christmaka is ongoing.
It's pretty awesome.
It has been great so far.
Crazy nights.
Well, what's funny is usually Hanukkah you get a shitty gift every night. It's like one small gift because Hanukkah is not a big holiday. Yeah, generally you get like a gift a night for 8 nights, but they're small. I got so many dreidels as a kid from my grandparents. Like it's just what you do. Whenever we would get a real gift, like an action figure, my grandparents would get upset with my parents Like, you're spoiling the children. That's not what this holiday is about. And my parents would be like, it's Christmas season. We have to get them a real gift. Like, come on. So,
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
but
that's
Hanukkah is
cool.
actually a very minor holiday in
I
as
did
far
not
as the
know that.
religion goes. Yeah, very minor. The only reason it gets any play is because it is always at Christmas time. And so kids who do not celebrate Christmas but celebrate Hanukkah don't have to feel left out.
Okay,
That is what has happened with Hanukkah.
that's good to know because our fearless leader also celebrates Hanukkah,
There you
Brett.
go.
And so I've always wondered. See, I thought that you guys got like a decent to big gift every night for 8 nights. I'm like, that's pretty awesome. That's how I thought it went.
I
Yeah.
I could see that depending on
Maybe it's
the
just MJF.
families and the parents, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think that'd be no different than Christmas for some folks who
Yeah,
maybe they get a thing, and then other times you see on social
Yeah.
media where people have a living room full of giant boxes that could
Yeah,
easily
yeah.
be empty just for appearance's sake, or they could be full of crap that the kids don't need.
yeah.
I mean, now
Or
with
crap
social
that the kids
media,
want but don't need.
easily
Yeah.
those giant gift boxes could be empty.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
much
yeah,
of like
now,
TikTok,
yeah.
Instagram, now it's just about appearances. So who knows
I
how
hate
how
it.
many
I
gifts are
hate it
really in
so
those
much.
things.
It's just
Yeah.
like I would go back to the if somebody has this argument with me, and then we'll snap into our thing. I keep saying that, but this is typical us. I would trade life right now to go back to the simplicity of the 80s in a heartbeat. I would do it in a heartbeat. Even if it meant a cord phone, all that shit, I'd do it because I don't know. There was just a
But we
magic
wouldn't do this
about it back then.
podcast, Joe.
Yeah.
I know that's true. I
It's
We
mean,
wouldn't
maybe
be here right now.
I
you're
think
right.
I
I just
understand the sentiment. I think
yeah.
that at this point, if we lost everything like that and went back, there would still be the same problems. It's just it would be things we
Mm.
hadn't thought of or we don't think about with
Oh,
today's lens, right? When you're looking
we'd
back.
still be
Maybe.
worried about
Yeah.
nuclear war with Russia
Yeah.
and the
Oh yeah.
Soviet Union.
We'd still be crawling under our desks like that was gonna help if there was a flash.
Absolutely. At least now we have, we have iPhones. We have the
Yeah.
internet. We've got access to any and all knowledge that we could ever want. And we
So
have the ability to bring joy and happiness and merriment to strangers listening to us on a podcast. So there you go.
yeah. So
So
I
speaking
have
of
to
that,
hold on one sec. Hold on. Because we brought up the nuclear war thing, I just have to say if
Oh
none
no.
of you have ever seen this, you need to see this episode of this TV show just because of this point. It's called Boy Meets World,
Yes.
and like he goes back in time because he has a hit on the head, and like he goes back in time to when they were doing like flash, drills under their desks for nuclear war. Like the teacher would yell out flash, and everyone goes under their desk, and he's like, guys, this doesn't happen, in the future, this doesn't happen. And what are you going to do? Go under your desk anyway? Like they all go under their desk. It's so amazing. Like you need to see it if you've never seen that episode of Boy Meets World. But anyways, yes, Alex, what was your point?
I was gonna say, speaking of enjoyment, for the first time I think in a long time, we actually had a plan to follow up on something we suggested last week, and so
Yes.
far we haven't done that.
Yeah, well,
So
that's true us. But let's
if
get into that now.
yeah, if you didn't listen last week, we had somehow made the suggestion that Matthew and I would come up with a reading list for Joe as he wanted to get into reading books and didn't really know where to start. And Matthew and I tend to read a bit more than Joe does.
A bit, yeah.
So we
Yeah,
thought,
we are working on Joe's 2025 resolution
yeah,
to read more books. And I'm very excited. Alex and I were going back and forth on chat all week.
yep.
Yeah, I'm
Trying
excited
to
for this to see what you guys picked up.
discussing what we were gonna pick for you. And I know, Alex, do you want to sort of do like you do a book, I do a book, you do a book, I do a book?
I think that makes sense. Go back,
Sure.
go
And
back
can
and forth.
somebody write these down in the chat, or Alex, can you send it to me?
Well, we're actually gonna include them in the show notes and the link
Okay,
to the
fabulous.
Goodreads page for anyone who also wants to check them out. And
Okay.
the reason we're doing a Goodreads page is because I can't be bothered to figure out which country has what specific Amazon and whatever. So I'm just going to do Goodreads, and people can figure it out from there if they're interested.
Yes,
Right.
you can copy and paste the title into the Amazon of your country.
Exactly.
can
Or
buy the
even,
book.
Into
or
the
even
Amazon of your country.
the Barnes and Noble or Indigo or whatever of your country.
Or God
Yeah.
forbid you have a library card and you use the Libby app, which is phenomenal, and I highly recommend everybody do it and use it.
Oh,
Especially if you don't want to have to pay for anything.
Yeah.
But still
Mhm.
want to get the reads.
okay. I live right next to a library, so I think I
You
might do this.
absolutely do. You have a library card, Joe?
I don't have one yet.
I was going to say the answer. If the answer isn't yes, it's not yet.
It's
Please,
not
Joe.
yet.
I think I would say, Joe, go to that library, get a library card. A, it's free. B, libraries get funded in part based on how many registrations they have. So even if you never use it, you're still helping out your local library to get a library card. But
Okay.
also, 3, let's say we're giving you suggestions and you're like, I don't really want to spend the money on this book.
Right.
Your library card will get it for you for free, and you don't have to
Okay.
worry about that. You won't have buyer's
That is
remorse.
awesome.
Yes.
What a bargain.
Library cards, they are pure magic, listeners. Please go support your local library. With that, Alex, what are you kicking us off with for Joe?
So I think as Matthew alluded to, we did spend a lot of time going over what we had thought would make a good starting point for you.
Mm-hmm.
So while some of these may not be my favorite books,
Mhm.
they are still books I think you're really going to enjoy.
Okay.
So to start you off, I have selected Appaloosa by Robert B. Parker. It
Okay.
was made into a movie, and the reason I chose this one and not another Western is because it was made into a movie. I thought, well, if you've seen it, you'll be able to compare the two, the movie and the book. The brilliance of the book, though, is that it's narrated by Everett Hitch, Viggo Mortensen's character in the
Okay.
movie, and it's narrated as if he was talking in the book. So his grammar is slightly off. His cadence is very much a man of the time talking,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a really good yarn. And again, have you seen the movie?
No, I've never
Okay.
heard of the movie.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, I think doesn't it have like Ed Harris as
Yeah.
well?
So
Viggo
Ed Harris.
Mortensen. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ed Harris plays a man called Virgil Cole, who,
Okay.
and again, listeners, we're going to be putting this into terms that Joe will understand. So there's going to be a lot of comic book references to what we're going to be saying.
Yeah.
So bear that in mind when you think, why is Alex comparing Everett Hitch to Batman? Or
Okay.
something along those lines. But effectively, Virgil Cole is the fastest gun in the West, possibly. He's just really fast, but he's also a lawman, and he does everything he can to uphold the law.
Yep.
To the point where when a town hires him, he says, I need you to put these laws into effect so that I can then enforce them. So he tells them what laws he wants so that then he can go and keep the town safe by using those laws.
Mm-hmm.
And Everett Hitch is the only man who has been able to get close to Virgil in terms of a friendship, but also just understand him on an instinctual level. They're the family that you choose.
Yeah.
And it's again, so there's 4 books in the series that Robert B. Parker wrote, and then his family member wrote a couple more after he passed. But the Appaloosa is a standalone. You don't
Okay.
need to read the rest of it to enjoy
That
it.
sounds even better.
It's really good. You can probably you could probably find it at your library. I actually found the copy I have at a thrift shop.
Okay.
But you can find them on Amazon. In Canada, it was about $10 or $11, so it's going to be the same or less in the States if you choose to buy it.
Perfect. That sounds like a good start. Okay.
Yeah, and it is. If I hadn't been specific, it is very much a Western. It's set in, I think, the late 1800s.
I can get with that. It sounds good. I like the premise of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it when I was reading it. I think it came out in 2005, so it's only about 20 years old. But yeah, no, it's a thoroughly good book. And hey, if you read it and then you like it, you can watch the movie and see the differences.
Absolutely. I like that. Good suggestion to start.
All right, so for me, I'm going to kick things off, Joe, and I wanted to think of something that would sort of
I have a
appeal
feeling
to
what it
your
is.
interests, and sort of be an easy sort of like build on a mythos that you already enjoy,
Hmm.
um, without being necessarily a direct comparison to something in other media. I want to sort
Smart.
of like it's almost like a bridge into reading, right? So
Hmm.
I am recommending Batman Resurrection, which is a recent release
Huh.
by John Jackson Miller, who has
Okay.
written a whole lot of really, really good Star Wars books. This is a direct sequel to the 1989 Tim Burton Batman film. It picks up literally right after the Joker is killed in that movie.
Oh.
It is very good. I read it myself. Was able to get an ARC at San Diego Comic Con, and I think you will highly enjoy it. Now, here's the best part of it. It's very well written. Basically, it's set right after the events of the 89 film, as I said.
Mm-hmm.
The Joker is dead, but there are remnants of his gang still going.
Yep.
There is a brand new villain taking place that we
Okay.
did not see in any of the Burton or Schumacher films,
Okay.
set firmly within that universe with an interesting interpretation. Um, you get to visit characters like Alexander Knox. You get
Yeah.
to
Nice.
revisit folks like Vicky Vale, who you never see
Yes.
again in the film, but get
Yep.
to find out what happened to all of them next.
Oh, I
And the
like it.
best part is, it does not contradict the Batman 89 comics from DC. They are meant to be complementary to each other. They all
So I
take
wanted to
place
ask that
within.
while you're
Hmm.
on and
Yes.
to explaining this. What is your interpretation of those? I hmm. They're they're
Hmm.
okay. They're very okay. I think Joe Quinones was the wrong art style for it. I really do. His Michael Keaton just takes me out. It's like Mad Magazine Michael Keaton in my view. But the only thing is, like, Echoes started out really, really good, and I liked Echoes. I liked the Harley angle and all that. And now we're on like the penultimate issue. I just read it the other
Right.
day. Eh,
Hmm.
eh, like what happened? It just fell apart. So I'm excited to read this book. I actually, now that you're saying it, I've heard about this. It bridges
Yes.
the gap between 89 and Returns.
Correct.
So
And there is a
I need to read
follow-up book.
this.
So if you
Ooh.
enjoyed Resurrections, there will be another book out October of 2025 called Revolutions. Um,
Oh, it's like a
s-
He-Man thing.
we'll find out.
No,
So
no, no, but it's like Kevin Smith's
yeah.
Revelations and Revolution.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah. Okay.
I think you will enjoy it. You could absolutely pick this up at your local library. It is available in hardcover currently, and it is an absolutely gorgeous packaging.
Hmm.
You could pick it up for cheaper on Kindle or online.
Amazon. Yeah.
Absolutely, it's all there. But yeah, there you go.
All
So
right. I like the
revisit the
first
Dark
two.
Knight.
I like the first two. I like Appaloosa sounds good too. It does.
Hmm.
And I like Viggo Mortensen, so like if I'm picturing that, that will be really, really good. But all right, Alex, bring on your number two.
All right, number two, and this is a book that I did a review on for Graphic Policy years ago. They gave
Okay.
me a Word document to do the review.
Hmm.
I'm currently holding a hardcover in my hand.
Okay.
It's My Captain America by Megan Margulies, I think is how you pronounce her name. It's
Hmm.
just it's appealing to the French that I'm used to say pronouncing certain things in a French way. I don't,
Hmm.
or it's either Megan Margulies or Megan Margulies. I don't know.
I think it's
Re-
Megan
re-
Margulies.
yeah, regardless, she is Joe Simon's granddaughter,
Oh
and
wow.
My
Okay.
Captain America is a granddaughter's memoir of Joe Simon. So you get a lot about Joe Simon from a lens that you would never otherwise have gotten it from.
I like that. That's a good
You
idea.
you learn about what he meant to her. You learn about how she heard and understood what he did for a living.
Yeah.
It's you learn a bit about Jack Kirby. You learn a bit about the creator rights fight that was going on at the time.
Yeah.
It's not an in-depth look at certain things. It's very much a granddaughter's look at Joe Simon.
Yeah. But
It's a fantastic book. I've recommended it to people before numerous times. I think that knowing your love of Captain America,
yes.
you're going to really enjoy it. I think
Okay.
it's one of those things that, again, like you can get it on Amazon, wherever, library, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
I actually found it at a comic shop, and it
Oh,
was
okay.
again like it's worth everything you pay for it. There's the copy I have has the inserts where you can see some of the covers that he put
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, because he did
pic-
Timely Comics.
Exactly, and you got a picture of Joe and Megan in it when she was young,
That's
and
cool.
it touches a little bit on what happened after Joe passed. I mean, obviously at this point we know that.
Yeah.
So it's, again, it's not a fiction book. It's very much a biography, and I
Mhm.
figured that a biography might be something that
Oh,
just to
absolutely.
try and get you into certain things. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really good read. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think that's probably on my list the most apt book that folks are gonna expect from a podcast that has dealt primarily with comics and geekery is my Captain America.
I like it. Another strong choice. Sounds good. All right.
Now
Number two.
I'm gonna pivot here, and I'm gonna do something a little bit more into the horror vein for you, Joe.
Ooh.
Um, it is an absolute classic. It is one of those horror books that everybody should read once in their lives,
Mhm.
regardless if you've seen the film. And I actually very much recommend it to people. If you have seen the film, make a point to read The Shining by Stephen King.
I
So
have seen the film, but I've never read the book.
the
I've
book
heard
is
that.
different than the film. It has a very,
Okay.
very, very different ending to it, especially.
Ooh. Nice.
The book is terrifying. It is an absolute classic as far as a standalone Stephen King novel. Shining
Mhm.
is generally at the very, 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 very top of those lists. So
Okay.
I didn't want to give you something like The Stand, which is a a 4 to
Now
6 book series.
I've not read The Stand, but I've watched The Stand, and it wasn't one of my jams.
So here's the thing with Stephen King. Every adaptation of Stephen King's work, bar a handful, is subpar to the book.
Absolutely. The
Yeah.
book
The,
is
the
nearly always better.
the only ones that I would consider good, and I still think the books are better, is The Green Mile.
Yep.
Mhm.
The book is just unbelievably great, and the movie is also good.
Okay.
Shawshank Redemption is a fantastic movie. I haven't read the short story, but I do
Yeah.
know that it's an adaptation. It's not a word for word. And The Shining is really good. I wouldn't say The Stand holds up. Now, The Stand, I read I think it's like a 1500 page version of it. It was a brick.
Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
fine reading books that size. I'm happy to do it. I
Yeah.
understand why it can also be a multi-book series.
Mhm.
The Stand is so much better in book format than it
It
is.
is. It's an incredible, but Dark Tower 2 is way
Yeah,
better as a book
Yeah, I
series.
heard.
So, but this is a nice, like, The Shining is there is technically a sequel that he came out with nearly 30 years later, but
Isn't
and
The
Doctor
Shining
Sleep?
is yeah, Doctor Sleep. But
yeah, and
The Shining is one and done truly and really. Um,
realistically it is. I mean, if you're a hardcore Stephen King fan, there are actually threads of all of his book or so many
yes.
of his books between other stories.
Yeah.
He's got so many really good reads. Like I really enjoyed Fairy Tale. I really enjoyed The Dark Tower, like Matthew said.
Mhm.
There was a book that I was going to include in this list. It was a Stephen King, but we agreed that maybe we'll try and limit duplicating
The
authors.
Yeah,
authors.
I like
Yeah.
how you guys did this. You guys had a lot of discussion. It wasn't just like
Oh,
go pick a list. And...
well,
We
otherwise, like
care.
I would have been,
We
yeah,
care,
we
Joe.
do care, and I didn't want to say, hey Joe, read Billy Summers by Stephen King, which is about a hitman. It's really good. And
Really
then
good.
Matthew's like, "Hey, read The Shining by Stephen King." I'm like, "Hey, Joe, read The Stand by Stephen King." Like,
Yeah.
we could easily fill this list out with Stephen King books.
Wow, he's that good, huh?
He's
He
really
is.
good. He does
So,
have some misses, like,
of
but
course,
right,
when you have that much output,
not everything is going to be for everyone. But we could have filled a list of 10 recommendations by Stephen King easily between the two of us.
Okay.
so The Shining is your Stephen King recommendation off of our list.
I like it.
It is great. It is about for those who have never heard of or seen the film, it is about a man named Jack Torrance whose family he brings with him to be the caretaker of a pretty dilapidated hotel called the Overlook Hotel that has seen better
Mhm.
days. He is the caretaker during a very lonely, very cold, very isolating winter. Um, and there is a great horror element as to whether the place is haunted,
Yeah.
and slowly driving him and his family insane and
Yeah.
or
Descent into
trying to kill
madness.
them. Yep, it
Yep.
is absolutely brilliant. Again, don't worry if you've seen the film. It is not the film and the book are not one-to-one retreads in any way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
Um, and even as great and celebrated as the film is, to Alex's point, the book is still considered as good, if not better, by most folks
Okay.
who consume both. So there you go. There's
Now,
your
I just
Stephen
wanted
King.
to clarify. You guys picked 5 books each, right?
Yes, we give you
Okay.
a top
Perfect.
10 list.
Yeah. Just because of time constraint. Okay.
Of course,
Um.
we may not get to them
Our,
all, but
No,
we'll get
no,
to
we're
at
gonna
least the
get to them
top
all.
5.
I
yeah.
will make sure that we get to them all. Okay.
All
So
right,
right now.
Alex, you're up.
All right. So to pivot from horror, this is a book by Sebastien de Castell called Traitor's Blade. It is the
Okay.
first book in the Greatcoat series, but it does work as a standalone.
Mhm.
And it starts off where the Greatcoats are effectively traveling magistrates. So they would be traveling Batman, for lack of a better term.
Ooh.
They go to a town. There's some kind of injustice. They will literally be judge and jury. They hear the complainants, and
Mhm.
then they render their verdict. And if people don't agree with their verdict, they're welcome to challenge the Greatcoat
Mhm.
who gave that verdict to a duel. The
Okay.
Greatcoats don't lose. They are,
Oh. Okay.
regardless of their weapon, they are insanely proficient.
Right.
There is a guy who is so good with a sword. It's like he can stand there and look at you and say, "I'm going to beat you in 4 moves." And like, how do you know that? And he's like, "Because I'm watching how you're standing, and I can see where you're going to go, and I'll be able to beat you in 4 moves."
Mhm.
And for him, 4 moves is 4 moves of his body, I think, or 4 exchanges. I'm not. It's never explicitly stated. Either way, it's an
Mhm. That
awesome
is
thing.
cool.
And yet, the book is told from the first person perspective of Falcio Valmond, who is the leader of the Greatcoats.
Mhm.
And a key point to bring up is that when the book opens, the Greatcoats have been disbanded because the king they served was murdered.
Okay.
So they're still trying to bring justice to the world as best as they
Mhm.
can, but they are, in many ways, like early X-Men. They're hated, they're feared, no one likes them. They just
Mhm.
want them dead. And these guys and girls and have like these coats that have armor plating inside and various packages of tricks and things.
Yep.
It's the comparison that I've heard people make is not going to make a huge amount of sense to you, because it's like Joe Abercrombie, who is one of the greatest writers of grim dark fantasy,
Mhm.
and Alexandre Dumas, who wrote the Three Musketeers. It's,
That
if
sounds
you
like a
like,
very interesting mix.
it's really interesting. It's really good. And throughout the entire books, like, these guys are not immortal. They are not invulnerable. They get the absolute shit kicked out of them more
Mhm.
times than once. And it's a lot of fun, but there's
Okay.
also a lot of heart in the story too. And like, Falcio is a guy who is just broken. He's broken when it starts, and he doesn't really get better. He's doing the best he can with what he has.
I'm very interested in this.
And
This might even be surprisingly on a list that has 89. This might be the number one I start with.
it's yeah, it's so when I said to you earlier that this list doesn't have all of my favorite books in it,
Hmm.
The next three are easily within my top 10. Like the series that they're a part of are within my top 10.
Okay, so you so this was your third. So you have
Yes.
7 more books on the list?
Oh no, God no. I have two
Oh,
more that I'm
okay.
going to talk to you about. But in
Okay,
terms
cool,
of
cool,
if
cool.
my all-time top 10,
Yep.
The Great Coats it is very high on that list.
Oh no, I'm definitely very interested. I thank you. Okay.
Likewise, I am also very interested. That sounds very good.
Matthew, number
All
3.
right. So the third pick on my list is part of this list building for you, Joe, is we want to give you the option to dip your toe in a lot of different genres,
Variety.
right? Yes, a variety of genres and a variety of authors, including a
Sure.
variety of time periods that the books were written in.
Sure. No one has a Tolkien book on here, right?
No,
No,
not as far as I know.
you very clearly stated that that you tried Tolkien and you struggled, and I think the reason that you struggled is because Tolkien is well respected for a reason, but he's a very dense author. And much like I would never recommend the Malaysian Book of the Fallen to anyone who's just starting to read, I would never recommend Lord of the Rings if you hadn't at least gotten in the habit of reading something.
So for me, I wanted to bring you over to a really classic noir mystery.
Oh, okay.
Um, this is a book called Farewell, My Lovely, written by Raymond Chandler,
I've heard of
starring
him.
his most incredible character named Philip Marlowe, who is
Okay.
one of the great classic hard-boiled detective characters of all time.
Okay.
Uh, his books have been adapted into films many, many, many times. His character, Philip Marlowe, has been adapted into movies, TV shows. Farewell, My Lovely a was adapted into an extremely celebrated 70s noir film starring Robert Mitchum, that is regarded as one of the greatest of its genre. But Farewell, My Lovely is a great standalone read. It is very fun. The dialogue, the writing style is an incredible page turner style. You
Okay.
will gobble it up. It is
Nice.
about a private investigator who is wrapping up a case when he finds himself in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he gets caught up in a murder that leads to him coming across a ring of jewel thieves,
Hmm.
another murder, a crooked fortune teller, corruption at the city level. Just name the sort of odyssey of bad guys, and
Yep.
seedy underworld characters that he has to navigate. It is very funny on top of being very fun.
Okay.
And I think you will absolutely go nuts. And it's a quick read. It's less than 300 pages. So
All
this
right.
is not something that you're gonna be sitting with for, 10, 12 hours at a time. This is the equivalent of sort of like a eating a Reese's cup for
Ooh, I like
sort
it.
of reading. You know what I mean?
I like it.
So
I like
Yeah.
it.
you'll love it.
All right. Sounds good. Alex, you're number 4?
For
4.
Yep.
Yeah.
speaking of books that have been made into movies, A Man Called Ovi has been made into two. A Man Called
Okay.
Ovi, which is a Swedish movie, and A
Hmm.
Man Called Otto starring Tom Hanks.
Oh.
It's a book about a grumpy old man in, I believe it's Sweden, but the translation I read was it could have easily been the north of England or Scotland or
Okay.
right, but I'm assuming it's Sweden.
Okay.
He's a grumpy old man. He lives on a very picturesque estate where you're not allowed to drive in certain
Hmm.
areas, and he's effectively the neighborhood watch.
Okay.
The more you read and the more you learn about Ovi, the more you're gonna really appreciate the character. I don't
Mm.
want to tell you too much about
Yeah,
Ovi
yeah.
because
Sure.
part of the magic of the book is how Fredrik Backman unravels the layers to what Ovi's character.
Okay.
I don't want to tell you too much about why Ovi is the way Ovi is because that's part of the reveals. What I will tell you is what's on the Goodreads page, and this is why
Hmm.
I've deliberately pulled this one up to almost read it verbatim.
Okay.
Ovi is a curmudgeon. He's the kind of man that points at people he dislikes as if they were burglars caught outside his bedroom window.
Okay.
He has staunch principles, strict routines, and a very short fuse. People call him the bitter neighbor from hell, but must Ovi be bitter just because he doesn't walk around with a smile plastered to his face all the time?
Hmm.
Behind the cranky exterior, there's a story and a sadness. So when one November morning, a chatty young couple with two chatty young daughters move in next door and accidentally flatten Ovi's mailbox, it's the lead-in to a comical and heartwarming tale of unkempt cats, unexpected friendships, and the ancient art of backing up a U-Haul.
I like it.
It's honestly, this is again one of those books that I only read
Mhm.
because I wanted to see the Tom Hanks movie. And if I can read the book first, I always try to do that because I'd
Okay.
rather read a book before watching a movie if given the choice.
Sure.
I have lent this book out to a couple of people and I've never heard a bad word about it. It is
Okay.
quite possibly my favorite non-fantasy book I've read. And I say, or
Wow.
rather, it is my favorite non-fantasy, non-historical fiction book that I've ever read.
That's high praise.
It's really good.
It's very high
Okay.
praise.
It's not a super long book.
Hmm.
It's again like 300 pages maybe.
Okay.
It's fantastic. Like again, of the books I've recommended to you, most of them, apart from the next one, are of 300 pages or less. I think.
Okay.
I
I like
actually
it.
don't know how long Traitor's Blade is. I'm gonna find
Oh,
out the page count in my thing right now because I have
that's
it.
okay.
Traitor's Blade is 370 some pages,
Perfect.
so it's not super long. I didn't notice how long it was because I read it within a couple of days,
Of course.
right? So it's one of
You
those
read it while
books.
you were reading another book.
I did actually, yeah.
You had one book in one hand, one
Yeah.
book in the other.
No, I was alternating between the two, but yeah, A Man Called Ovi. I read it in 2 days.
Okay.
I could not put it down. It is absolutely brilliant. The the story is fantastic, but more importantly, the translation is wonderful.
Yeah.
So many books that are written not in English that suffer from a tough translation. Some of
Right.
the early Witcher books the stories are good, the world is phenomenal,
Yep.
but Andrzej Sapkowski doesn't translate well to other languages, and it
Okay.
almost sounds like he's using the same phrase over and over again, where it might be a very subtle variation that the guy's like, "Yeah, I'll just say the same thing. I'll copy and
Y-
paste it." Right?
Right.
So the guy who translated Fredrik Backman was on point.
Okay.
It's absolutely a brilliant book.
All right. That sounds great. I love the diversity of all these choices. That's what makes this special. Sorry, Brady in the background.
Yeah.
He's like, Dad, are we going? Yes, we're going soon, pup. Um, all right, Matthew, number 4.
All right, so number 4 for me.
Mhm.
Again, I'm taking you on a totally different branch
Yep.
of genre here. So this is going to be a nonfiction book. It
Mhm.
is called Manhunt: The 12-Day Chase for Lincoln's Killer by James L.
Oh,
Swanson.
okay.
Um, it is all about the assassination of Abraham Lincoln and the
Yep.
ensuing manhunt, as the title gives you, for John Wilkes Booth. It
Right.
is a nonfiction book, but it is written like a page-turning thriller, where it is all
Interesting.
chase, all action, all the time.
Okay, I
Um,
like this.
really, 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 really great book. Especially, I think it's incredibly well paced, um, and very well researched. If you are looking to sort of, again, dip your toe into nonfiction
Yeah,
that's not a biography, or a memoir, but something about an historical event, this is a very easy intro to that genre, as it were. But
okay.
but yeah, it will start with the lead up to the assassination, gives you a little bit of historical context. It's written incredibly well. It's an easy to digest read, basically. There
I
was
like it.
also a Apple Plus TV show that came out, I think it was late last year, with Patton Oswalt and a few others.
Oh,
So
nice.
if you do like it, you can absolutely watch the show. The show was quite good.
Okay.
Sort of flew under the radar for a bit, but yeah.
Never heard of it. Yeah.
Manhunt: The 12-Day Chase for Lincoln's Killer. It was a bestseller. It's very well regarded. It's a little longer than some of the other
That's okay.
picks. It's about 444 pages.
That's fine.
And
No
another
phone
one
books
you could
yet.
easily pick this up at your library,
Perfect.
Kindle, whatever's most convenient for you. You can get it very, very affordably now. So,
Perfect.
there you go.
All right, Alex. Finish strong. Bring me home.
For a while, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to go with one book or another, and I ended up going with Kings of the Wyld. It's
Okay.
a fantasy book by Nicholas Eames, and it asks the question: what if mercenary bands were effectively rock stars?
What?
So these mercenary bands are treated like rock stars in this world. That you have
Okay.
bands with fun, cool names. Some of them are terrible. Some of them are really good.
Yeah.
But you have this older band, in their late 30s, early 40s, who have retired, who were the best of the best, but now have to get back together for one last kick at the can, so to speak.
Yep.
But the thing is, now that they're in their late 30s and early 40s, they have grown either old, fat, drunk, or all three.
Okay. I like it.
And like the lead character is a man called Slow Hand Clay Cooper, who just has no patience. Like, he has patience. He is a very patient man, but he's like, I've got no time for this shit kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's just such a great book. It's about just shy of 500 pages.
That's fine.
You won't notice it. I read it when we were on a plane. I just sat down for a 4-hour flight, and by the time I looked up, the flight was already probably the better part of mostly over. So it was one of those things where I didn't realize how good this book was. It is the first book of a series. You do not need to read the second book. You can read just the second book and not the first book, because they take place in the same world. Some of the characters will pop up in each one. For the most part, however, they are very clearly standalone stories in the same world.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite novels. This is another one that I was talking about earlier. It's one of my favorites, and I chose this one over some of the other ones I wanted to recommend to you because it's a one and done, and it's a really good one and done. Whereas other than, like, even Traitor's Blade, you can read it as a one and done, but things like The Blade itself is the first in a trilogy, and it really does read like the first in a trilogy. Not a huge amount happens in it, because it sets the stage for the next two books. Right. So there's a lot of books like that. The Winter King, it's gonna come to some streaming show later on by the guy that did the Last Kingdom. Again, like, it's a very clear trilogy, so I didn't want to start you on that if it wasn't your thing. But Kings of the Wyld is absolutely phenomenal. That would be my fifth recommendation to you. And again, there's no real order to the way I gave these to you.
No. Right
like,
now,
I'm not saying this is my last one, but yeah. So this is probably one of my favorites on there, other than Traitor's Blade, I'd say. I can't
Traitor's
even
Blade
pick
is probably taking the first, and then Resurrection's taking the second.
Yeah. Honestly, I was gonna go.
They're interchangeable right now. They're interchangeable right now.
Okay, Joe. So I'm gonna take us home, as you said.
Yep.
My last pick for you is co-written by two of the most celebrated authors of our generations. And that is a book called Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett.
Ooh.
Now, one of the things I liked about this is the fact that it is by two incredible authors whom you could then, if you liked either or both of their writing styles, you could then sort of branch out into the Discworld series for Terry Pratchett, which is probably one of the top 3 most celebrated fantasy series of all time.
Okay.
Or you could always branch off into things like American Gods or Nevermore
Yeah.
or other
Neil
Neil
Gaiman's
Gaiman stuff,
American
right?
Gods. Yep. Okay.
So this was their collaboration in the 80s that they were literally faxing each other pages of. And
Mm-hmm.
it is a standalone book. It is about a demon and an angel who are bracing for the end of the world, where the masses of heaven and hell, the armies are gathering together, and they are both tasked with sort of um, finding the Antichrist as he is born on Earth
Mm-hmm.
and watching him grow up for their respective sides of the conflict.
Oh, that sounds very interesting.
Unfortunately, at the hospital, there is a mix up and they end up following the wrong baby his entire life.
Okay.
Um, and so it is very fun, it is very funny, it is very tongue in cheek. You absolutely can sort of tell which author is writing which chapters and passages and which characters. It is a really, really, really spectacular yarn with a
A
brilliant
yarn.
premise. There is, of course, 2 seasons of a show on Amazon Prime.
Mhm.
There's going to be a 90-minute wrap up to the series coming out, hopefully 2025. It stars David Tennant and Michael Sheen
Oh, I heard
um,
about this.
as the Angel and Demons. Was it
Great
David Tennant
choice.
plays Crowley the Demon,
Yeah.
and Michael Sheen is Aziraphale the Angel. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Yeah.
Great
Doctor
show
Who
on top of
himself.
it. But yes, Doctor Who himself. So that's going to be the last recommendation from our 10 books,
I love
10
it.
reads for 2025 that we hope will
Oh yeah.
only
I,
inspire
I'm
you to read further
I'm very
as you
excited to be
go
honest
on this
with you.
journey.
These are
Yeah.
really great choices. They're all intriguing. Not one of them I said, yeah, I'm not going to read that. Not one of them I did. But I love that. I honestly thought The Man was going to be on here too.
Well, no, that we're not allowed to. That was apparently Alex forbid me from putting it on the list because I'd already pitched it to you last week. So
Yes. So that's my honorable mention.
that's your bonus
Exactly.
read from me. Would
Yeah,
be
exactly.
Not Your Average Girl by Becky Lynch, which I read over the holiday, and I think you would very much enjoy it. And it's a very quick, easy read.
Yeah,
So
and that would be probably on my last just because I want to get into.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna say right now, the Gray Blade is the one I'm gonna seek out to start, and
nice.
then most likely gonna do Resurrections, and then it will go from there. This last one sounds very interesting. I like the tongue in cheekness of it. I can imagine. Um,
So
you
what
know,
we do, whether and this isn't to rush you into anything. Whenever Matthew comes back on, we're going to ask how your reading's going,
I like it.
and whether you have something done or you have nothing done, it's don't worry about it.
Hmm.
It's don't feel any pressure to read. It's just a
Hmm.
case of I think this is a fun thing to follow up on, and then if you like, oh,
I like it.
I really like Good Omens. Like, what Discworld should I read? Well,
Yeah,
then you're going to hear Matthew and I crack our knuckles and
yeah,
have a
yeah.
discussion about Discworld for the better part of an hour.
You'll crack your knuckles, and then one will crack their neck, and it will be like
Yeah, it's like,
versus.
all right, here we go. So
I
again,
love it.
like so many things that what we wanted to recommend to you
Hmm.
that we didn't
Oh, I can
for
imagine this must have been very difficult for you guys to pick out of the thousands of books you guys have read last
su-
year.
surprisingly for me it wasn't because
Oh wow.
I was trying to keep it fairly accessible for someone who doesn't read a lot go
Hmm.
different books. I didn't want to start, like I said, I didn't want to start you on a very clear trilogy that has a beginning book,
Yeah, yeah.
middle book, and an end book. Whereas the 2 books I did recommend are first of a series. You can
That's
read as
fine.
standalones quite
Yeah,
easily.
no, no, I like that. And I really appreciate all the work that went into this from both of you. This wasn't just like, what was the last 10 books I read? Oh, I like that one. I like that one. I like
That
that
one,
one.
that one.
And I like how you guys played to my sensibilities too. I think you did it all very fabulously. You gave me a nonfiction book or two in there, and then you gave me a lot of fiction, but also you gave me premises that were vastly different than each other's, and I really really love it. So I am excited to start this in 2025, and I am not starting until 2025, which is only a few days away. But
Yep, you got a few more days.
Yep.
Like the kid who, procrastinates on his homework. That's me to a T. I will be doing this, but I have a Barnes and Nobles up the, not up the street. It's 4 miles away. So I still call it up the street. But
Yeah, it is.
4 miles away in Bellingham. I think I'm gonna go seek out the Grey Blade. I think this is
Traitor's Blade.
Traitor's Blade. Okay,
Yeah.
but it's about the Grey Blades.
Great coats. I'm gonna copy and
Great coat,
paste the
sorry.
link, the blurb I've got with just the Goodreads link and the authors into our chat. It's going into the podcast show notes anyway, but this way you have it.
Awesome. I also like how you guys didn't give me any graphic novels.
No, prose only.
Yeah,
that's a different show. That's a different episode as we can go into our graphic novel picks.
I think that would be fab. I think I can recommend
this is,
some too.
That's just it. This is very much a thing that we're happy to do multiple times.
This is a nice recurring theme that we can do.
Because you all have done it for me for wrestling matches and wrestling shows, and so of course we're always happy to share the love on the things we like.
I know. And I will say, Joe, again, if you are literally next to a library, go in there, get a library card. I guarantee you could easily check out some of these books from the library if you are ever worried about the budget or the pricing. It'll be very easy for you to find.
I might buy these. We'll see what happens. Maybe the Lincoln one I won't buy, but I'll read it. We'll figure this out. But this Traitor's Blade sounds like something I want to hold in my hand and just kind of curl up and on my easy chair. My easy chair, like I'm 90 years old, but like my easy chair next to my 2 cases of what's it called? Action figure displays and wrestling memorabilia. So right next to my my nice warm yeet glasses and my Gunther's title and the rest of my display, which I haven't shown you guys, so I will show that. I'm actually gonna get some lights for it too. It needs to be lit. It looks like it's in like an old dim room in the mansion or something. It's
that's half the
fun. Your Mr. Burns room, yes.
Yeah, my Mr. Burns room. But I do have to run. On that note, World's End is tonight. Matthew, will you be watching? I think I know the answer.
No, because I don't pay $50 for pay-per-views anymore.
That's gonna stop
out of the
next
habit.
month, right?
No. It's still on pay-per-view. You still have to pay for it. It's not. I don't think it. I think you are going to have to buy it through Max, but I think it'll still be at least $30 or something like that. I don't think you get it with Max.
He's not worth $30. They're not live. I'll give you the experience for sure, definite.
Sure.
Watching it, no, I don't think it's worth $30. I none of them except for maybe All In, which is usually fabulous. They do put a lot into All In, but I only want to see this for one match. I just want to see Adam Cole versus MJF. I want this thing over. I think Cole needs to win. If Cole doesn't win, I think he needs to go away. He's got nothing. MJF's had the Dynamite ring for 5 years now. I don't think it serves any more purpose.
The only purpose it serves is to give him the streak. Like if they're looking at building up an Undertaker-like streak for MJF and Dynamite Diamond Ring, then this is exact. Like he's gonna. I think he's gonna win. I don't think it's gonna be a clean win. I just think that it would be foolish to give anyone else a Dynamite Diamond Ring when it's become such a huge part of MJF's character. And
I agree, but I would give it to Adam Cole only because this closes it out.
But this isn't going to be the close.
No, it's not.
Me. This is match.
It's got to be.
I expect there's going to be at least 3 matches to the series, right? So I think this feud continues into March of next year.
Oh, come on, man.
I think I really don't. So I don't know that Cole wins. I would love for Cole to win so that he could have actual momentum going into the new year. I'm not guaranteed either way, but I do guarantee this is not a one-off match between the two.
All right. Yeah. And then, I don't know, for some reason, I see Ricochet winning the Continental Classic.
I could see it. I could see it. He's probably the most celebrated signing that they had
Got to say,
in
I
a
hate
while.
his character. He's got to get some
Um,
mic lessons. They suck.
Why do you think he never got over in WWE?
Oh, Jesus.
He's
Now
not
I
a
know.
talker. He
Now
thinks he
I
can
know.
talk, but he can't
Oh, no,
talk.
he can't. Like,
He
no.
needs a manager.
Oh, yeah.
He needs a mouthpiece. He should join the Hurt Locker.
He
I'm sorry,
should
the
have,
Hurt
but
Syndicate.
then they,
But
for lack of better terms, cucked him. So it's like, we don't need him. I don't know.
that's for now. They could be like, we were just testing you, and then
Yeah.
bring him in. There's all sorts of ways you could do it.
I still think, I
Yeah.
hold that Kenny Omega will pop up tonight. I have a feeling. I think that's how the show
Could
closes
happen.
after Moxley wins.
Could happen. I could also see him waiting until next week when they are going to be on
live,
Max.
the simulcast, yeah.
Well, and
Is
it's
it
also
It's not simulcast though, right? It's like
No, it's
right after
simulcast.
the show airs on
No.
TBS. It's
No,
live
they've been
on
doing
Max.
commercials that it's live on Max at the same
Oh, is it
Yeah.
live on Max? Okay.
I
Yeah,
simulcast.
I would.
also think that it's because it's in North Carolina as well.
Yeah. So they're stealing WWE's thunder before. Well, I mean, they're not stealing.
No,
it,
they're not.
Let's face it. But what I'm just saying is, like, they're doing it before WWE is a week before.
Sure,
So.
and no one's talking about it like they're stealing their thunder.
Not a
No one.
person.
No one is saying AEW is stealing their thunder because there is a difference between the Max streaming service and the Netflix streaming service.
Oh, 100%.
But before I go, because this is what happens, because I got to hop in the shower and then Brady and I do got to run. Have you seen the meme that it's like Cody Rhodes when he comes out in the first Netflix of the year, and it's like it plays the music, but then it's an N64 graphic of Cody Rhodes walking out with a barrel chest, very, very slow.
Oh man, that's great.
It's so amazing.
That's so good.
I loved this show today. It was something vastly different. I think I'm very excited to get into this reading assignment on January 1st and no earlier. And I cannot wait to do this and give you guys progress updates and all that. And Matthew, while I have you on, or we have you on, we have to do the obligatory Royal Rumble thing. So you have to be on before that because it's been far too long since we've done one of those.
I also am very excited. If anybody listening out there wants to try these books out, please read along with Joe. Let us know what you think. Reach out to us on social media. You can find me at Matthew Klein 316 on Bluesky and X. You can find me at MacTheKnife1116 on Instagram, which is where I feel like I post the most. If you go on there now, you will basically see a giant chunk of the MSG house show from the second row. Some great clips on there if you want to see some stuff that you wouldn't see otherwise. But please let us know what you think. Did we make good recommendations? Do they hit home for you? How many of you read? How many of you wanted to read? How many of you never heard of? What's new to you? Yeah. So join the conversation. Go on this journey with Joe in 2025.
I like that. Journey with Joe.
Journey with Joe. Joe's journey.
Joe's journey. Good alliteration. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, Alex. Take us
that's
out.
it. I think that's I'm not coming any better than Matthew did. So by this point, the music's playing, folks. have a good New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.